This is for the players.
I'm Ryan Betson.
I'm Max Cooper.
And this is For the Players, the pop culturist PlayStation podcast. Over 40 years of playing PlayStation and 5+ years in the games media combined. I'd like to thank you for joining us in this PlayStation conversation.
This PlayStation conversation happens every Monday morning at 8 a.m. on podcast services, including Spotify, and 9 a.m. on those YouTubes. If you'd like to join us in future conversations, head on over to our socials, our Facebook, Discord, Instagram. All our links are in the description below.
My drink bottle's not in here. That sucks. But if you want to join the conversation as it happens, head over to twitch.tv/thepopcultures where you can watch us record this show live. That's right. You can get in the chat. You can come in. You can do all the things. You can have a damn good time. And as Dash says in the chat right now, the cardigan is throwing me off. That's right. I'm wearing a cardigan today because I went clothes shopping. We'll get to that a little bit later. But one thing we'd like you to do is to share this conversation. Tell your friends, tell your families about this little PlayStation pod. Go to your services of choice, give it some star ratings, give it likes or written crap, or, subscribe, like, and ring the bell and all that bullshit. But if you want to support us financially, we know it's tough, but head over to patreon.com/thepopculturist, or you can buy our merchandise at popculturist.com/shop, where you can buy shirts and other assorted shit with our logos on it. How are you this fine Saturday, time of recording, Max?
I'm tired, man. Tired. My kid woke me up at 5 a.m. and I also did a 5-hour shift at work today, which I don't normally do. So,
damn them kids.
Yeah, bit of a bummer, but we'll soldier on.
That's right. You just kind of push through.
Yeah.
How's the week been apart from today?
Yeah, not too bad. I've played a lot less games again this week than I have, but it's been good.
We do tend to be at that time where it's like there's nothing coming out, so and there's not really a pull to play anything.
Yeah, I've played a couple of newish games, and I've dove back into some old stuff, but I played a little bit.
Yeah, well, my week's been pretty alright. Nothing too major took place. It's just sort of going through the motions, really. It's just kind of keep doing it, which is cool. Well, it is that we're at this point. Yeah, everything is the same. Nothing ever changes.
We're like 3/4 of the way through the year now?
Yeah, about 3/4 of the way through. We've been in isolation-y, lockdown-y, quarantine-y thingy for like 6 weeks. So everything has been at a standstill for the longest time. It's actually kind of nuts. But in terms, you mentioned you've been playing a bunch of games, Max. What have you been playing?
So I played some Streets of Rage 4
last night. How is it?
Online. So it's difficult.
Yeah.
Well, it might not be difficult. We might just suck, but we were struggling to clear levels on normal mode. We were just getting our asses handed to us.
Have you played it in a single player setting? Like,
I have yet.
More people.
No, so I've yet to play it in a single player setting. We downloaded it specifically to play together. And then we ran into some network issues. We couldn't connect to each other, and it turned out it was because neither of us were running our firewalls, and that was apparently the issue. Once we turned our firewalls back on, it was all fine. Dove back into Overwatch. Played a little bit of Overwatch recently.
I did notice that.
All the new characters, I don't know how to play against them, so that's been a learning curve.
Well, when was the last time you played?
Shortly after the hamster was... Okay, so I think the last time we played was like season 8 or 9. So it'd be a couple of years.
Well, because the last time I played, they just brought in the dude with a big old fist. He's like, Badoosh, whatever his name is. I'm going to call him
Doomfist.
Yeah, Doomfist. Yeah, that was the last time I played. And that was a bajillion years ago at this point.
So been having fun with that. I dove pretty hard into the Elder Scrolls Online this week.
Hey, very nice.
I ponied up and bought the monthly subscription thing.
Oh, wow, you went hard.
So I paid for 3 months of that. So I did some of the side quests, joined some of the guilds, got to level 30-ish.
Damn.
It's been good fun.
And how are you finding it?
Yeah, so I'm playing with a friend. He kind of messaged me earlier in the week and said, "Hey, I'm thinking about re-downloading this." And I said, "Cool, I've already downloaded it because I was going to play it with Betson, and then we never got around to it."
At no point did you message me this week, you fuck. we could have been playing it.
To be fair, I normally get on at like 10:30 at night, so I normally think most people are in bed by then.
Pretty close.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you, buddy. James has got my drink bottle. Yeah. Can I have it, please? Thank you, buddy.
I've managed to convince my wife to play Moving Out. Is Moving Out? Moving Out?
Yep.
Yep. So I've got that downloaded, ready to go for when our child sleeps for longer than half an hour.
Nice.
But yeah, what about yourself? What have you?
It's been a pretty quiet week. In terms of video gaming. Also, hey Nathan in the chat, what's going on, my friend? I spent a little bit of time this week with Moving Out again. So having played it last week, I did bring it into work for my online sessions at work. So I got a little bit more time with it there, and then I was like, okay, cool. So we got pretty far, like 20-something% the way through in a group of 3. So that was pretty easy. Drastically changes.
How are you playing it in an online setting?
Oh, no, we just take it at work and we just play it with clients.
Okay,
we play it with other staff members. Sorry.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so we play it and then stream it out to our clients. So that was all fun. Probably do that again this week. So doing that actually was really handy because it allowed me to look at different ways to approach the levels that I've already done in single player with myself. So then when I came home and I jumped back into it, I'm like, all right. And then I was able to gold medal all of them. Achieve the additional side tasks, and it all because there was I think I may have mentioned it last week. It felt like no matter what I would do, I couldn't get golds in single.
Yeah,
but now that when I played a bit more with others, I'm like, oh, there's a shortcut, there's that. Okay, cool. And then, pardon me, I've been able to sort of rip through it nicely, which has been great. I downloaded ESO on my laptop, so because that's gonna be another thing for work as well. So I'll be playing that, and then additionally, I dove back into Strange Brigade. I think I'm pretty close to the end at this point. That game's a good bit of fun. It's really chill. It's just good puzzles and shooting. It's a good blast. Other than that, not a whole much else really. My week has been a lot of mini painting and watching Seinfeld for the first time. So that's been an experience. That show is fucking awesome, by the way.
Oh yeah.
Even decades later, it's like brilliant.
I just finished watching Upload.
What's Upload?
It's on Amazon Prime. Upload is where it's a show about you can upload your consciousness.
Because I'm watching Seinfeld through Amazon. I've seen that ad.
Yeah. It's worth a watch. It's very good.
Nice.
It's got Robbie Amell in it.
Oh, that's who he is. I know that face, but then I couldn't pick who it was. I also watched Super Size Me 2.
There's a Super Size Me 2.
I know. That was my response.
Is it the same thing?
No. So for those that don't know, Super Size Me was a documentary made by a gentleman named Morgan Spurlock, who, I don't know, PlayStation, where he went and ate fast food every meal for 30 days to see what would happen. So the second one went a different way. So rather than doing the exact same thing again, he decides he wants to create his own restaurant. Because apparently, fast food has changed and it's more healthy. And right now, he's like, well, I want to see how actually healthier it is, or if it is in fact better from when he did Super Size Me 1.
Fair enough.
And yeah, it's a very interesting documentary, actually, especially around the whole because chicken is huge, and then all about the back end chicken industry and stuff. It was absolutely crazy. But yeah. Oh, speaking of fast food though, let's just get in there quickly with the Ryan Get Less Fat update. I have now lost a total of 13.4 kilos,
nice.
Which has been absolutely fantastic. So there was about a week and a half, about 2 weeks where I stayed steady, and that was a bit gnarly. I was like, oh, why can't I get past this hurdle? But I've seemed to have gone, and then I'm heading back down, which is absolutely amazing. So to add to why I'm wearing a cardigan, today I did finally go and buy some new clothes. Losing 13.5 kilos really does affect your clothes that you are wearing. So like my pants are just falling off me. Like shirts, they're fine. Like I don't mind a bigger shirt. But even the range of jumpers that I've only ever had hoodies because they're easy to buy large. Right?
Yeah.
And then I was there today and they had some cardigans and some other like sort of pullover jumpers. And I got this one in this color and a black or a dark gray, sorry. And then another pullover jumper. And the big thing for me is that I was like, I haven't always had to buy from the fat dude section, but there was a time where that's the only place I could really go. And so today I was able to buy everything from the non-fat dude section. Which
so now that you've got your cardigan, are you ready to tell punk kids to get off your lawn?
Oh, they're getting nowhere near my lawn at this stage. It feels good, but it's so warm. It's really lovely. But it was one of those things because you can't buy them. Like it's like I've always had cardigans always seem nice and comfy and warm, but they never have them in super big dude size. So I was like, well, now I finally have access to it. I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm buying it. I'm absolutely buying it.
Why not?
Yeah. So I'm very happy with it. I don't know whether this suits me just yet because it's a lighter color than I would normally wear, but I'm feeling it. What about you, Max? How's your Get Less Fat update going?
So over the last 2 weeks, I've lost just over 2 kilos.
Fuck yeah!
Because I'm not being as stringent as you are. So I only have the shakes on weekdays because my weekends are so out of whack because of my work schedule during the week. My meal consumption's all over the place on weekends. So I stick to them during the weekday, and then on weekends I'm a little bit lackluster. Like today, for instance, I finished work at 2:30. I'm just like, I'm getting Subway. Having a sandwich.
Subway's not too bad though. Like
Subway's not too bad
on the scale, but depends what you get there, of course.
And then obviously I've just gone through 2 glasses of gin, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah, there's that. So like, it's like when you say I'm all strict on, I am very strict on it in some ways, and then the dinner is where I get a bit free. So like last night for the first time in forever, I had Hungry Jacks, and it was awesome. And I still lost weight when I woke up, so I was very happy with that. But anyways, that's enough about my fucking weight loss. That's about weight loss. But so what's your total now then? If that's 2 weeks from the
total now, so from the start of the year to now, it would be close to 14-ish kilos.
Fuck yeah. So you and I have lost a collective just shy of like almost 30 kilos. God damn. Round of applause to us. Just gonna say. Fuck yeah to us. We are going to be so pretty for PAX if it happens. But it's it's not happening. But Dash goes, it's called Shock in the Body. It's a good thing. It is 100% a good thing. Like I'm a big fan. I still do the celebration meals, as they call them. They shouldn't call them cheat meals. But yeah, I'd sort of them like once a week to put a bit more oomph in. But no, it's good. I like it. Anyways. Let's get in the section we call Inform the Players. We tell you about what happened this week in PlayStation. Now, Max, there was some things, nothing massive this week, but we're still getting a lot of the smaller things. So, similar to previously, we're going to do the to and fro, one. See how we go.
I actually kept everything together this time, so we won't have to go up and down constantly. So let's kick things off with Assassin's Creed lackluster gameplay reveal. So obviously, this coming from Liam Croft at Push Square. So in the short time since Microsoft's Inside Xbox, which happened 3 days ago as of recording, we checked it out to check out the third-party titles, hoping to see them come to PS5. And obviously the Assassin's Creed gameplay reveal was there. So Ubisoft have been heavily criticized for their use of the word gameplay. However, the Xbox Series X manufacturer promised that it would debut footage of Assassin's Creed Valhalla, and while it technically did, what we got didn't live up to our tempered expectations. The 71-second trailer featured vague shots of the game and cutscenes that most likely don't represent the final product. It was a major disappointment, but at least the CrossGen's title's creative director has quickly sought to temper the flames. Ashraf Ismail took to Twitter to promise that, quote, in-depth gameplay and lots more information is coming. So the tweet in question, quote, hello all, you rightfully expected to see today. We have a long marketing campaign ahead of us. You will see in-depth gameplay and get a lot more info about the game. Thank you for your excitement and passion. Be patient with us and be kind. It will be worth it. So when the proper look at gameplay will arrive, we're still not sure yet. Ubisoft has yet to confirm a digital showcase of its own at the time of writing this article, which was a couple of days ago. Until then, we just have to wait.
In the chat, we've got Dash. Get the fuck out of here, Ubisoft. And Reverend Park said made Watch Dogs look tame.
It was so overhyped, and it was just nothing. Now, granted, I guess the takeaway is it was at least all in-game engine footage.
Well, why didn't they say that? Like, right, it's not gameplay. It's like this show a complete in-game trailer.
So, I mean, in that sense, fine, I guess. But when you say we're going to show you gameplay, like, show us gameplay. Show us real gameplay.
Look, Xbox and the whole Microsoft conferences or any sort of their video packages have been pretty liberal in the past about their use of words like exclusive and world premiere. And
yeah, that's the big problem with their messaging, I guess. They just need to, yeah.
But on top of that, this certainly doesn't come from.
Dash is really hating on this.
What's he in the chat? Quote, in-game engine, and even then, games look like fucking shite. Almost zero shaders. Well, is that, cool. All right. Like I said, I'll just wait. Like I said, we've discussed this in the past, Max, where like we're at a point now where it's like, all right, we'll just wait until it comes out and we'll look at it then and we'll think about it then. We've got until the back end of this year, and I'm sure we'll get a lot more information between now and then.
I mean, people have made a point that it's like, it's supposed to be a launch title, so it's coming out within 6 months, and it's still looking like this.
Yeah, and like one thing that sort of came out of the whole Xbox Inside thing was people's expectations of what next gen would look like, right? There was sort of people having this expectation of what it's going to be from there to there, and it doesn't seem to be meeting that. Now that doesn't surprise me. I imagine people had this grandiose idea of what next gen visually should be, but that comes in time. Like, even the first PS4 games look a little bit rough compared to what they look at now. So, as we go further in there, or as we start seeing more first party, presumably, for both Xbox and PlayStation, that is where we will see the more visually stunning games.
Yeah.
And Dash also supports what I said in the chat. It goes, PS3 to PS4 wasn't a major leap in its infancy. Spot on. So
it takes time to get good to develop for new hardware.
Yeah, and on top of that, how I think the next generation will be handled, because we are hitting a almost a plateau, what's the word I'm looking for? It's like a deficient return or whatever. That's like exact term I'm looking for, but diminishing returns.
Works.
Diminishing returns. So like the we are hitting that ceiling of what graphics are right now, right? So I think we'll be seeing a lot more of more back-end style, a lot more smarter AI, a lot more processing, maybe a lot more density in the world, rather than
a lot less loading screens.
Visual, yes, like loading times rather than visual improvements, which is fine. Adding more to Assassin's Creed Valhalla, this one comes from Push Square as well. If you played through Assassin's Creed Odyssey, you'll be familiar with just how huge that game is. The game's stupidly huge. It takes place in an enormous map and has endless missions and other activities to engage in, keeping players busy for potentially hundreds of hours. It is a great game, according to Stephen Talaby, but you could argue it's too big for its own good. That I would agree with. For Assassin's Creed Valhalla, however, it sounds like Ubisoft of Montreal is scaling things back a little little bit. The publisher's head of communications for the Middle East, Malik Tafar, has responded to feedback about Odyssey's size and scope. And according to him, Valhalla will be, quote, neither the longest nor the biggest game in the series, end quote. Suggesting you won't have to sink quite as many hours into it. This will be a welcome news to fans who felt Odyssey was a little bloated. It should be noted that this quote comes from a translation of the original Arabic tweet. However, it seems pretty clear what Tefar, I think I pronounced it wrong beforehand, Tefar is saying here. Now, Max, this isn't the biggest news that comes out of this for me, personally. Like, we discussed this last week as well, being really super, I'm like, oh, cool, I remember being really excited, you know, about Origins and about Odyssey, and then I get in there, I'm like, this is dense, and I don't want it.
Yeah, those games were huge. Scaling it back a little bit is not really the end of the world. It's probably a good thing, because those were long grinds for those games.
Brutal grinds, absolutely.
I mean, I think I played Odyssey for like 80 hours and I'm still not finished.
Ew. And once again, if I remember right, they did have those sort of perpetual like missions that always just make something for you. It's similar to like how Skyrim did it back in the day. That same sort of concept. Just sort of keep and so you'd always find new missions.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's cool for some, but nah, mate. Nah.
Yeah, it's a long slog.
Yeah. It's rough. So this will certainly be a positive spin, but when when Odyssey was just ridiculously large, I do wonder how when they say it's scaled back, like, are we looking at a 30, 40 completion campaign? Are we looking at, 80 something, which is still less than what it was? And I guess we'll find that out closer to launch, but it is still early days. We've got to remember, this was only announced to us like how many weeks ago? Not even?
A week and a half.
Exactly.
Yeah, about a week and a half. So, speaking about things that were only recently announced or are still unannounced, there are unannounced EA titles still in the wild. So this is essentially a follow-up to EA's previously reported earnings call back in January, in which it stated that 4, quote, major unannounced projects were set to launch through March 2021. In the publisher's end-of-year report, it dedicates a page to upcoming games. The company still plans on pushing ahead with the annual sports titles. The likes of FIFA, Madden, NHL are all present, but it's the small text at the bottom of the page that's interesting. It reads, quote, we expect to announce additional title releases in the financial year of 21 over the coming months, including an unannounced EA Sports title and an additional EA HD title, 4 EA partner titles, and 2 mobile soft launches. So that's a lot of unannounced games to rattle off over the next few months. Maybe one of them could be the infamous Mass Effect trilogy remaster.
Didn't it come out? Someone was all balls to the wall and like, "Yep, it's Mass Effect."
I mean, yeah, it could make sense for the EA HD title. But good news is we may not have to wait very long to get some concrete answers. The recently announced EA Play 2020 is happening in June, promising, quote, world premieres, news, and more.
Look, I'm not a big Mass Effect guy. I didn't really love it like everybody else. Could be because I never played it, because I think I spent a lot of time on Xbox and before it came to PS3.
Yeah, I've never played Mass Effect games. I couldn't care less.
Having it not be playable on PS4 right now at all is certainly a hindrance, and it was baffling that they didn't do this earlier, especially when you had like Andromeda involved. It's kind of like, okay, well, why?
I don't know.
Why is it not here?
It could be the bad taste in people's mouths as it was Andromeda, them thinking maybe they're not going to support us when we do this. Have we spurnt them too much?
Well, there is like sort of that idea that the reason they didn't do this HD remaster prior to the Andromeda or around Andromeda's release would be how it would make Andromeda look. It would make Andromeda look incredibly subpar.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I guess like in terms of a reason, like why they didn't do it makes sense now.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm just having a little bit of weird things with the chat on my side. So give me one sec, but it looks to be pretty good on the Twitch, so that's fine by me. All right, let's keep chatting about EA, Max. EA suggests the PS4 games will be upgraded for free. Also from Push Square. Naturally, there's a lot of chat about next gen right now, but one question in particular remains a bit of a mystery, particularly for the PS5. If you buy a game on the PS4 that later releases on the PS5, can you swap to the enhanced version at no extra cost? Interestingly, Electronic Arts now appear to be in favor of such an initiative. Speaking during an earnings call with investors, EA CFO Blake Jorgensen comments directly on the matter, saying, quote, note that this year the phasing includes the effect of revenue recognition from the games that we're launching for the current generation of consoles that can also be upgraded for free onto the next generation, he said. This sounds pretty certain that PS4 games from the publisher are getting souped up max versions for PS5, and players will be able to swap to those next-gen ports for nothing. Apex Legends is likely getting that PS5 trim, which we talked about last week, so it stands to reason that other EA titles may make that jump as well. While this does sound pretty good, there's also a possibility Jorgensen is merely referring to PS5's backwards compatibility, and as Sony has said, the, quote, overwhelming majority, end quote, of PS4's back catalogue will function on PS5. Could EA simply be saying that PS4 games will then work on the new console without having to spend any extra dollars? They think it's probably more than that, though. The executive's wording suggests he's talking about swapping your PS4 games for the fancy new PS5 version, given other publishers are saying similar things. Microsoft has been touting its smart delivery program, and that one's pretty rad. So I do think this could certainly be the case, Max, because seeing as it was a financial call with investors, for them, in order to say, look, this is what we're doing from an investment standpoint, it is very financially focused. And I think it's more likely that it is the prior, as in it is going to be free across both. So whether you get a souped up version, which is as the wording on
which is probably a smart thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
Like, obviously, it loses them money in the fact that they can't sell the game to you twice, but it builds up that the rapport with your consumers that are like, well, you know, they're doing this for us, and you don't get, you know, such a bad taste in your mouth. Be like, oh, I have to buy this twice because I want it on the next gen console. I want the better version. I want to play it in its best possible form. If they say, well, if you buy it and we're going to release it later, we've got you.
Yeah, and like it is
building that rapport with your consumers is important to keep them coming back to buy your next titles.
Yeah, and I do also understand like that sort of mild confusion about that wording, especially as that has been discussed on how like a big hunk of games / most games sort of being handled. It is a bit.
Yeah.
Okay. You know, it is up in the air right now. It does seem a bit flippant, but I do think we will probably hear more specific soon. And if EA is willing to make that jump at that low cost or no cost, then it would be odd. Because, you know, EA games in the past have won many acknowledgements of being, quote, the worst company.
Yeah.
So if they are doing even this minor client pro customer setup, it would be odd for other companies not to jump on it as well.
Yeah.
Moving on.
The PS5 UI could help you plan your game sessions.
Oh, speaking of PS5.
So we know that Sony's planning to streamline the PlayStation 5 experience by creating interactive widgets for games to take advantage of. On current consoles, for example, you have to load up a title, then select the multiplayer component before you can hop into a match. Next gen will change this, as you'll be able to bypass in-game menus by selecting exactly what you want to do directly from the system's user interface. A new patent, however, hints at how far the Japanese giant intends to take this general idea. It proposes a software solution whereby players could be informed how long on average it will need to play to complete the next objective. It will also then make suggestions that could potentially optimize your playtime, such as using a specific resource. If you're having difficulty to complete a section, then the console will surface for hints or tips. This all connects to the PlayStation AI speculation that's been circling for some time now. Effectively, it appears that the PS5 will include an Alexa-esque component where you'll be able to seek help from the console if you get stuck. Imagine a lot of this stuff will be optional, but it seems Sony wants to streamline your time with its system, which is a noble pursuit considering so many of us lead extremely busy lives.
I do live a busy life, Max.
But do you want to be told how long it takes on average for you to complete something and then it take you 3 times as long? And
No.
then you just realize that you suck?
No. It is just weird. Like, I don't want any of this personally. Like, I love it on concept. It's like, hey, you know, this is what's going to look like. That, you know, as per average time spent on this section by other players. Oh, excuse me. It's good. You know, it would take you another hour and a half to get to the next objective.
I guess it just depends on how in your face these are. Like, is it going to be like, hey, I can see that you're having trouble. Do you want to spend $5 on this thing to make it easier?
It's the goddamn paperclip in Word. I see you're trying to play a game right now. Do you need some help? No, mate.
Like, yeah, it just depends on what they're using it for and how in your face it is, and whether or not you can disable it.
Yeah, if this is a
if this isn't like an opt-in service.
Yeah, if it's an opt-in service, then I'm going to have less of an issue with it. Like, I personally probably going to turn it off straight away. It's more of a it seems like an annoyance, if anything. Like, yeah, cool. You know, I live a very busy life. You know, similar to yourself, Max. We both work full-time gigs. We both got kids. And then we do this little side hustles as well. Like, we don't have a lot of time to really sit down and smash games. So the idea here would be that as the age of the average game player is increasing, they're taking into account that with that large age bracket means less time to play games. So let's provide a platform to help those people with limited time with a bit of time management. And like that at its core isn't a problem, but it all comes. It's too early days. This is too conceptual for us to really nut it down. I think, but as long as it looks like that weird cloud with legs thing that they patented as well, because that sounds and looks like straight up nightmare fuel. But heading on, keeping it on PS5, Destiny will make its way across the PS5. Now, this is no big surprise, of course. This comes from Push Square. One of the big benefits to Microsoft ever so slightly lifting the lid off of its next-gen Xbox Series X is that developers around the globe feel much more comfortable making their plans public. One example is Bungie, which has today revealed that Destiny 2 will in fact be coming to PS5. Of course, it was always going to be playable on the upcoming console through backwards compatibility, but this confirmation suggests that a native version will bring with it some worthwhile enhancements. Console players will immediately point towards the PC's 60 frames per second advantage, while their short updated visuals will also be on that wish list. Bungie signs off their announcement saying that, quote, there are more details to come. Now, I imagine we're going to see more and more of this, especially more games of a service, quote, games of a service like this with Destiny and Apex, which we know both, well, now with Destiny and we know Apex is going to come across, and presumably we'll hear about Fortnite and Overwatch and a bunch of these games sort of making their way to the next gen.
all games of service are obviously going to work on the next gen consoles.
Yeah, regardless of backwards compatibility, like they're not going to.
They're all going to come.
Yeah, so like every time we hear that, it's like okay.
Cutting off their milk cow would be silly.
Yeah. But on a positive note, though, announcements like this are actually going to be incredibly helpful come the back end of this year. With the current working from home situations and all these difficulties that people are facing, there is this concern about what are we going to play at launch. And if all these games are just coming over straight away, like their PS5 versions, like I'm sure they can have PS5 versions ready to go around launch. Like, boom, sweet. Even if they're like, look, the launch games are pretty lackluster, you'll be able to see the benefits of next generation very quick. Does any of that make sense?
Yeah, of course. Well, like we said, you know, it makes sense for all games of service to come out as quickly as possible on the next gen consoles. the faster they get them out, they can keep their revenue going. It just makes sense for them to keep their games as service running.
It's true. Yeah, no, look, because people have a lot of money and a lot of time invested in these games, and it would be silly of them to, as you said, get rid of that cash cow, and also be that, quote, anti-consumery. Moving on.
We got some more. We got a new Last of Us 2 trailer showing some gameplay this week.
It was good.
So Naughty Dog promised, and they delivered. Due to launch next month on the 19th of June, you can check out the latest slice of footage that dives into both gameplay and some story beats. If you haven't already seen it or heard the media blackout following the unfortunate leaks, it is worth watching, but stay clear of the comment sections.
Big time.
Although, some information on that coming up a little bit later. So the 2-minute trailer puts a lot of the screenshots everyone's seen the past few months into motion, plenty of new gameplay sequences, and things get truly gruesome the longer you watch. I won't go into too much detail. I want to, be as spoiler-free as possible. But it looks like The Last of Us Part 2 will not be pulling any punches whatsoever.
Dude, and that makes me so happy. Because when we look back at other previous showcases or trailers, and we saw people being straight up fucking disemboweled and hanging off stuff, and these just, crazy violence everywhere. Like, not quite ultra violence, but pretty gnarly violence everywhere. I'm very happy to see that is continuing, because I know there was a little bit of backlash, quote unquote, about the violence. Oh my god! Excuse me. About the violence around The Last of Us. Sorry, man. So I'm glad they've really kind of doubled down. They're like, no, this is what we want, and this is what we're planning to deliver. So here you go. That makes me really happy. We get to see a lot more of Ellie, and I guess this is semi-spoilers if you've not watched any of the trailers. We get to see a bit more interaction between her and Joel as well, which is fantastic. Now, of course, neither you and I have seen the spoilers or the leaks, and we certainly will not. So one thing that we have been doing is, as Max mentioned, avoiding any comment section, and Sony is sort of playing it smart on that as well. They know that just people are being absolute C words and just straight up, fuck them, they're cunts, I hate them. They're just going out there and just delivering this information everywhere. So they're playing it smart, and they have been locking off their comment sections on their YouTube videos and whatnot. However, they cannot stop them on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, I believe. So it's more just about YouTube. So keep an eye out. Bumholes are everywhere, and they're really trying to just spoil your day all the time. But I do greatly appreciate, personally, the PlayStation are trying to do this, to at least block it in some ways, where keep it safe. Because was it announced this week or last week that they went gold?
I think it was on the precipice of last week, this week.
Yeah, so we may have been post our recording last week, but it is 100% happening. The Last of Us has gone gold, which is brilliant for a number of reasons. One, it's actually forcing me to eat some of my words a little bit, actually, in a really good way. I discussed this on the Dash Gamer podcast, which I guested on this week. I made a lot of comments about The Last of Us not being ready, and they're sort of taking advantage of this coronavirus delay, and then in order to squeeze some extra time out. By having them go gold now, so they're about 6 weeks out from release, it's a little bit more than normal. It actually seems more, it 100% seems like it's more legitimate of those claims that they were waiting on production concerns, because 6 weeks out, like, the game is ready to go. 6 weeks left until it's got to be in stores. That they're allowing for a lot of time for things to get to places they need to be. So I eat my words 100%. Ryan was wrong. They were ready to go. And they were 100% on a logistics thing. So I'm very happy to hear it's finally gone gold. It does suck that all the leaks and all the hubbub right now about the game, so the negative backlash towards the game is hindering what is excellent news, because this game has been, X amount of years in development, and I'm really excited for it. And for some reason, people are really mad about it. Like, if you go to that video on the YouTubes, You know, 22,000 likes to 66,000 dislikes. You know, like there is a very strong like 1 to 3 in favor of the negative, which I don't understand, dude. I cannot understand this hate right now. Is this just some tall poppy syndrome shit?
I think people had it in their mind they were going to get it when they wanted it, and then when everything changed on them, they just get angry. Gamers are very entitled. I think they're entitled to a lot more than they
unquestionably.
Than they are.
Yeah. No, look, I said I could rant all day about these apps, as I said, the absolute cunts that are ruining this game for everybody else, and I cannot understand it. It makes me furious that the in terms of the pure enjoyment about ruining somebody else's day. Like, that just makes you an empty asshole. That's it.
Yeah.
Dash corrects me. You don't guest on the show, you host it. That is true. I do, in fact, host that show along with Dash and Paul from Player 2. Just force a habit. Next up, Max.
So I think we'll come back to this one.
We'll come back to this one, yeah.
We'll
I like this one. Yeah, moving on.
So could there be a new Tony Hawk's Pro Skater and Crash Bandicoot in the works? So Activision has 2 unannounced titles based on library intellectual property in the pipeline, and there are strong rumors to suggest that they will be new entries into the Crash Bandicoot and Tony Hawk franchises. With regards to the skateboarding series, pro skater Jason Dill effectively confirmed the game this week. This is in no addition to band The Dead Set previously hinting at it as well. The rumours are less strong for a new Crash Bandicoot, although the publisher has indicated in the past that it wants to make it. And a TV ad released by Sony last year appeared to include a previously unseen render of the mischievous marsupial. All should be revealed in the coming weeks, with multiple industry events planned, including possibly a big PS5 blowout. What do you reckon? Do we need a new Tony Hawk's Pro Skater? In my opinion, no. The last one was terrible.
Yeah, number 5 was pretty bumhole, and I think for that exact reason they shouldn't. But it's that weird line, because in that same breath, it is probably they need to recover from that bullshit that was Tony Hawk's 5. But look, there's a very weird place right now when it comes to especially skateboarding games, right? Like, skateboarding had a massive renaissance in those 90s, early 2000s, right? That was where skateboarding was common, it was popular, it was massive. I don't think skateboarding is there right now, and so I think that there is a difficulty with releasing a game like that now. Saying that, though, another game that I saw this week is called Skater XL. It's coming out next month. Looks to be sort of a spiritual successor to EA's Skate. I think that'll do well because people miss Skate, and because Skate plays incredibly differently.
I miss Skate.
I miss Skate hard. You know what I mean? So, like, I think that sort of skateboarding game is needed. However, I don't think Tony Hawk is. I think the big difference, but then again, this could be me being my own little bubble as well, because around Tony Hawk, the original Tony Hawk releases, that's when I gave a shit about skateboarding, because I was young and I used to skate myself, and then I just got fat and old. But like, at that time, like, and when you looked at the list of skaters, you would see, you know, Tony Hawk, Bob Burnquist, Chad Muska, Rodney Mullen. Like, there are all these people, all these massive names that aren't massive anymore. You know what I mean? Like, I couldn't tell you who would be the next up-and-coming big skateboarding peeps. Oh, big thank you to Dadbod players coming through with the raid of the party of 4. Thank you very much, Dadbod. Hello, Captain Tightbits. Oh, what a name. Captain Tigbits. Damn it. Tightbits would have been better. Had to send some love to you, my favorite Aussies. Thank you very much, Dad.
Thanks, man.
Dadbod plays amazing. Exceptional TikToker, by the way. If you want to see some hardcore, awesome dancing, he is fantastic. My peeps, give them a follow. They're awesome and make the most awesome content. But yeah, so I think that with that change in in consumption of skateboarding as a medium, I don't think a new Tony Hawk's would work well here, especially when it comes to just people not knowing or caring who skateboarders are anymore.
I guess it depends on if it's going to be a new Tony Hawk's or if they're going to give us a new souped up version of a fan favorite.
Yeah, like if they were able to mush like 1, 2, 3, and 4 together, like sort of this big collective package.
So we're gonna get Tony Hawk's Pro Skater anthology.
Yeah, and just bump them all together. So rather than having them as be 4 separate, like if they're gonna go this full route, right? Activision making money on remakes or whatever. Let's just plonk them all together so that you have all the levels, you have all the skateboarders. Go that way. Like, that would be the smartest bet.
I could get behind a Tony Hawk's Pro Skater HD collection.
Yeah, but like not even separating them though. Like bring them into one huge scope game. But granted, that does also...
Nah, so you wouldn't... I don't think that would work so well because there were mechanics that were introduced in the later ones that would just completely destroy levels that weren't.
That's true. Yeah, second you bring in manuals and reverts and shit, like it completely would wreck any of the older games.
And then like Underground, you could get off your skateboard as well.
Oh man, see that's the thing. Like what I'm taking into account here is Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 to 4. That excludes the impeccable Underground 1 and 2.
Oh, but the Undergrounds were so good. You can't cut them out.
That's true. You cannot cut them out. Captain, I'm going to call him Tight Bits because I like saying it. Tight Bits. My uncle is really into the skateboarding scene, and he is so good at it. He has been a famous skateboarder in a game of skate, and he has beaten a famous skateboarder in a game of skate, and my uncle won his used skateboard. It's on his wall. That's awesome. So like skateboarding for some is still around. Like I still have my skateboard. Granted, it's like 12 years old now, so it cannot support my weight, and 2, it's probably all waterlogged and shit. But my son loves it. So like I'm excited for this Skate XL game because I'm like, oh, this looks interesting. It's very similar to Skate. It's getting me keen. But a new Tony Hawk's game, which is Tony Hawk has also got on the record saying that he no longer has that deal with Activision. So it's this weird sort of line, like they would have to reinstate the name deal with him, I guess, because he fell off that deal like a while ago. I don't know.
Yeah.
And in terms of Crash, we've heard about this rumored new Crash game for forever. Couldn't give a fuck about it personally.
Yeah, I'm the same.
Because Crash Bandicoot really did end after Crash Team Racing. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Sure.
Oh yeah, it was Crash Team. Yeah. Oh, okay.
It died at what?
But I mean, in terms of its
wrong,
big
Crash
appeal.
Team Racing is great, but it's not a Crash Bandicoot game.
Yeah, no, but like Wrath of Cortex was okay, but like yeah, once you got away from Naughty Dog, it really sort of rapidly declined.
Yeah,
and the recent success and love of Crash Bandicoot comes from the remakes of the original 3, not the request for a new one.
Yeah.
Moving on up, speaking of old franchises that may be making their way back, this comes from Push Square. My video was frozen. Give me 1 second. Boom, boom, and then I'm back in, and I've lost my my news. There it is. The Prince of Persia is back, apparently. Here's a strange story. There's been footage of a cancelled Prince of Persia game found on YouTube for over 8 years, but it's only been now put into the wild. The concept trailer, subtitled Redemption, was in development for PS3, and it shows an Uncharted-esque set-piece scenario involving time manipulation, sword fighting, and a lot of running. The game obviously was never published, but fortunately there are rumours of a new Prince of Persia title after Ubisoft registered a domain name recently, which is in the next bit. But while we wait for more information on that, what do we think of this potential concept, Max? It's definitely got that late PS3 era muddy look to it, but it could be interesting nonetheless. This was since updated, going to, according to an ex-Ubisoft and Naughty Dog animator, Jonathan Cooper, this is not gameplay footage, but a target render. Quote, that this target game footage, pre-ended game pitch, inspired our own pitch for Assassin's Creed 3, as they did such a great job making it look like real gameplay, he said.
What a strange twist at the end there.
Yeah, but to add a bit of extra to it, Ubisoft has also been busy with some websites. Recently registered the domain for Assassin's Creed Valhalla just hours before the game was revealed, and they've also since taken a hold of Prince of Persia 6.com. Is the publisher finally bringing this action platforming franchise back to life? Asked Robert Ramsey from Push Square. Well, it's of course not concrete proof that a new Prince of Persia is coming. It is still a very specific domain, so there's a chance that it doesn't actually mean anything at all, because normally it would be Prince of Persia subtitle, right? Because you'd have to then take into account, Warrior Within, Sands of Time, and you'd have to knowingly know that they are all counted, and etc. Right? It's a lot of extra work there. But with so many next-gen events coming up, Microsoft's Xbox Series X showcase, as we mentioned last week, didn't show anything. While Sony's PS5 reveal will come at some point in late May or early June, it is possible that Ubisoft may, in fact, be gearing up for an announcement. Max, what is your thoughts on a new Prince of Persia? However, quickly want to respond to Tight Pants here. Tight Bits. Big fan of Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2, aren't we all? That's even all the songs were on point. That is true. Nothing can quite beat the Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2 soundtrack.
Now, I
fish my pants.
I'm a massive Prince of Persia fan. I would love a new Prince of Persia.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they don't do too much different from any other action platformer, but it's such a cool world for me.
But I asked this in the idea, like, hey, we've got, like, Assassin's Creed is more prominent now, and that's kind of, similar to what that test footage as mentioned, like, it is sort of filling that void of what Prince of Persia was. They mentioned Uncharted-esque scenario, so Uncharted's filling that sort of traversal void. Like, is there even a place for Prince of Persia anymore? Like, isn't it something that has been sort of delivered across a bunch of other games?
Well, I mean, it depends on what games you've played. Like, now this is, as someone who now co-hosts a PlayStation podcast, I've never played any of the Uncharted games.
That's cool. They're great. They're totally great, and you should, but...
I've seen them all from start to finish because I watched my wife play them, but I've personally never played them.
That counts.
They just wasn't my jam.
Yeah.
Same with like Tomb Raider and all that stuff. I'm just like, not... If the IP itself doesn't...
But then how does Prince of Persia grab you, but these two don't? Because they are very similar.
Well, I guess, obviously, I played Prince of Persia since it was a 2D side-scroller.
God, I love that 2D side-scroller. It's so good.
And then when it became 3D, it was just what I remember. It's the nostalgia from playing it as a kid.
I imagine the nostalgia played a role.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's see.
Well, I think I might leave the next news bit for you, so I'll skip down to the PS5 stuff.
Sounds good.
So we have some PS5 reveal event rumors. The question everyone's been asking, when will Sony reveal the PlayStation 5 and its lineup of both first and third-party games? Recent rumors have pointed towards something happening at the end of this month or an event just afterwards in the early days of June, with GameBeat's Jeffrey Grubb most notably stating the date of the 4th of June. Now, soon-to-be Bloomberg reporter Jason Schreier has thrown his own hat into the ring of speculation. In a new interview with Press Start, Schreier is asked whether or not there is any credibility to the rumors in question. He responds by saying, quote, "As far as I know, right now, Sony is still on track to do at least one thing by early June, let's say, or by mid-June, let's say."
So E3, potential E3 window.
So he then stresses that these plans could still change as the current world pandemic continues. But at least for now, however, it appears we are roughly 1 month away from Sony revealing its hand. The Japanese giant is heavily rumoured to have Demon's Souls Remake to go alongside its next-gen console at launch, while the likes of Horizon Zero Dawn 2 could follow soon after. Sequels to God of War and Marvel's Spider-Man are also pretty much inevitable. There was an update to this. Jason Schreier has added a little more clarification to his comments on the Reset Era forum. Quote, "I said there would be something PS5 related happening by mid-June, unless it is bumped due to the current pandemic. I didn't say it was a PS5 event, because I don't know how many things they're doing. So take that with what you will." I mean, we're eventually going to get all these announcements and what it is and have a look at the hardware and what's coming out with it. Unfortunately, with everything so up in the air with the world at the moment. It must be hard to, I mean, with everyone working from home, they're such a big company with so much, obviously, interworking that they need to do across multiple countries. It must be hard for them to kind of get together and be like, this is when we're going to do it. This is what we've got to show. Because, I mean, as much as people say don't judge a book by its cover, first impressions do matter, and they want to come out looking strong.
I'm in a weird spot. I mean, we've discussed this before, Max. I'm excited to hear about more new things coming from PlayStation, what this PS5 will be, but until I hear it from the Japanese horse's mouth, I cannot care anymore. Like, the amount of times we've been like, something's happening in February. Didn't. Something's happening in March. It didn't.
We've been burnt too many times.
Literally every month we've had some sort of this announcement is rumored to come, which I don't know about you, proves me that no one fucking knows anything about the PS5 reveal or when it's even happening. No one knows.
I mean, they're all like, oh, this developer is announcing this at this date and this person's doing this at this date. So Sony has to be doing something around then, right? Right?
Well, there's been no, like if anything, what we've seen is proof that they won't be, that there is nothing.
Yeah.
You know, so I myself have said I refuse to get excited until I can get some more confirmation.
I can't even remember when the last PlayStation State of Play was.
Back end of last year, like October?
Yeah. I don't correct me if I'm wrong, anyone in chat, but I don't think there's been one this year.
No, there certainly hasn't been one this year. Like you and I have been doing this show since about November.
Yeah, like the controller they announced in a blog post. There was no video for that. It's been very eerily quiet. Sony have been very tight-lipped.
But yeah, until we hear it officially, I'm gonna take every bit of this announcement with a grain of salt as my mouse gets in my face. And finally, Max. The last State of Play was December, says the Reverend Park. So he corrects us. Thank you very much. Let's see. Finally, the Doom composer will not be so eternal. Doom developer id Software has confirmed that it has parted ways with composer Mick Gordon amid a very public social media spat. The fallout came to the forefront when an audio engineer posted an image of the waveforms from one of the songs on Doom Eternal soundtrack and compared to the Doom 2016 soundtrack. It showed a highly compressed profile with a less dynamic sound range. The original poster placed the blame on Gordon's feet, though he was quick to distance himself from the project, this is being Gordon, claiming that, quote, he'd only mixed a small handful of tracks and wouldn't have done that. He went on to tell another fan that he doubts he'll work with id Software again, alluding to some kind of breakdown of communication. This, as you can expect from people with pitchforks on the internet, led to a tidal wave of online abuse being pointed at id Software's developer lead audio designer, who was responsible for mixing the remainder of the soundtracks. Such has been the ferocity of this backlash, the executive producer Marty Stratton was forced onto Reddit to comment. Quote, some have suggested that we've been careless with or disrespectful of the game's music, he wrote as part of a lengthy statement. Quote, others have speculated that Mick wasn't given the time or creative freedom to deliver something different or better. The fact is, none of that is true. What has become unacceptable to me are the direct and personal attacks on our lead audio designer, end quote. Stratton continued that while Gordon's music is defining, the parties have, quote, struggled to connect on some of the more production-related realities of development, and communication around those issues have eroded trust, end quote. There's a lot more meat in the post itself, but the bottom line is that there was a serious breakdown in relation between the pair. This has ultimately resulted in id Software deciding to end its relationship with Gordon for Doom Eternal's upcoming single-player DLC. Surprise, his upcoming single-player DLC, and any future projects. Quote, I'm as disappointed as anyone that we're at this point. But as we have many times before, we will adapt to changing circumstances and pursue the most unique and talented artists in the industry with whom to collaborate, Stratton concluded. Now, we put this one in here mostly for me, because I personally absolutely fucking love the Doom soundtrack. I think Mick Gordon is a straight up talent, especially when it comes to that sort of industrial sound that we got with Doom 2016, which then was brought into Doom Eternal as well. So to hear that there has been some sort of disagreement or some mismanagement on either side of them, that resulting in this not being delivered further, or not being within Mick Gordon working with Bethesda in a number of ways, is disheartening to me personally. But I also understand from a business perspective where it'd stand. From my understanding was that they had created many agreements, many extensions with Mick in order to get his things ready for release of the official soundtrack. So for those that did pick up the collector's edition of Doom Eternal, the actual soundtrack itself was delayed about a couple of weeks, and not a month. So even if you bought it, you couldn't even access it day one. You got it later. So that is interesting. And I wonder whether that's played a bigger part here. Because myself personally, what Mick Gordon has created for Doom 2016 and following Doom Eternal, they are the defining sounds of Doom for me. Like that sort of industrial guitar, that real sort of chug heavy with that hard synth, very low end, guttural sort of sounds. I love it endlessly. I think it's absolutely fantastic. And I don't know. I imagine my feelings towards Doom, if it does go any further than this, may be altered with the removal of his music. Max?
Interesting. Yeah, it's always a shame when there's a breakdown between artist and the developer, especially over something like this, like a lowering quality of the music to fit into the game.
But adding to that, so the discussion here isn't around the issue of the audio, right? So due to Mick not meeting his goals and getting the songs out on time, there was an agreement to move them on to the lead designer, who was to then do the final mixing on the songs that Mick hadn't completed yet. Yeah. So if you have a listen to some of the songs on the soundtrack that Mick Gordon mixed himself, they do have that wide range. They do have that more intricate, deep sort of nuances where the lead designer has sort of come in, put them together, and as you can see from the waveform, they are quite heavily compressed, and they don't have the same clarity and sort of nuances that you would have found in Mick Gordon's mix.
I mean, it's a shame, but like you've just pointed out, there was a deadline, and not making the deadline kind of puts the developer in a sticky situation as well. Like they need to meet their targets, and because of this, it's just a shame that it happened so publicly, I guess.
Yeah.
And now for them to choose to cut ties entirely,
which I think that means there's a lot more that we haven't seen. So with old Marty's big post, like there is a lot of very open discussion in that. So it's not as if it wasn't PR wordy. It wasn't like a bunch of, we wish him best on his future endeavors, all that garbage. None of that. Absolutely none of that at all. Like it was, pretty by the book, just like, hey, this is what it is. This is it from our side. So I imagine there's a lot more to it than just, and I'm out of here. Like I think there seemed to be a bit more. And I think why people are getting mad about this specifically is that Mick Gordon and his music has been such a big selling point. They have, previously id have connected the two. They have put them on the same place, on the same pedestal, and they've had Mick be part of the showman, part of one of the showmen to to Doom. Like, you know, he was at PAX 2017, where he literally went there to just play the entire soundtrack and explain how he made it and what his processes were. And it was fucking fantastic. Best panel I've ever been to. Every panel I've been at PAX since has been subpar. That's including the ones I've been in. Like, they have all been subpar compared to the awesome panel. So I understand the backlash, because if those two are connected, I having that connection severed will be a greater issue than people think.
Yeah, it's a real shame.
Yeah. All right, Max, it's time to do it. We haven't done it in a little while. Let's get some deep dive and dirty on one particular topic. Let's back end this section of the news with Cyberpunk.
So this week we got the game's ESRB rating has been made public, revealing some surprising little details. As you'd expect, the title's rocketed straight to a mature rating in the US due to graphic violence, scenes of sexual nature, drug use, and very strong violence. Here in Australia, it has been given the R18, and we have also been told that it will not be censored for us Australians in any way. So that's also exciting news. The rating reads, quote, "The game contains nudity and sexual material. Players can select a gender and customize their character. Customization can include depictions of breasts, buttocks, and genitalia, as well as various sizes and combinations of genitals. In true cyberpunk fashion, it sounds as though you can modify your body however you want." The rating also confirms that, as CD Projekt Red has previously said, motion-captured sex scenes will play out in first person. Quote, "Players can encounter events where they have the option to engage in sexual activities with other main characters or prostitutes. These brief sex scenes, from a first-person perspective, depict partially nude characters moaning suggestively while moving through various positions. Some scenes contain brief depictions of thrusting motions. Other scenes depict a character's head moving towards a partner's crotch." Everyone settle down.
So the reason we picked this one is only because it's an interesting topic, because for a couple of reasons. Like, sex and sort of nudity and sort of sexual things. Oh, apparently my camera decides to want to slow zoom out. No, go back in. Sorry, give me one. The zoom rocker's busted on the camera, so it's just going to keep zooming. It's going to keep zooming out. All right, Max.
Are you trying to distance yourself from this story?
Apparently, Max. If you can quickly check this, I'm just going to fix the zoom. God damn it.
So it's very interesting for us Aussies, because generally, games with sexual natures or drug use are very big no-nos here. Our rating board is very much keep it tidy, I guess, in a way. So it's interesting that something like this has been approved and will not be getting censored for us Australians in particular.
Well, yeah, and like that's my big thing, especially in like the US as well. So like the US has, when it comes to their rating boards or when it comes to movies or any of their sort of entertainment, there is this weird disconnect between violence and the acceptability of violence compared to the acceptability of sex. So it is very fascinating that this is kind of swung that way. But in terms of the actual augmentation of the body, this from all accounts seems very pro cyberpunk lowercase c. You know what I mean? Like this is cyberpunk as a genre is this. It's very fluid. It's very mixed. You know, this is
a tabletop RPG game at its core. If you look back at the core books for this, body modification is very much what this was about. So being able to customize your character in a way that suits you and that you want to play as is very much true to its source material.
Well, yeah, and like it's 100% true, because like you know within cyberpunk as a genre, fluidity and sort of that complete customization, I guess is sort of part of it. And I think this is actually a great step forward, like within approaching these topics within a gameplay setting. Like there does seem to be this sort of reluctance to discuss or show sex, only because it's very in previous it's been very fucking uncomfortable. Like, you know, even when you watch like like The Witcher as an example, that had some weirdy sort of sex scenes, and like the old God of Wars had them, but they were not quite the same. It was just kind of mini games. Like, it's how to depict that is where it's going to get difficult. I'm very fascinated to see how this goes, because this game is 100% adult, and I'm glad it's being treated as such.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Like, with the CD Projekt Red announcing that they motion capped these. Can you imagine being a mocap artist doing this?
Well,
for a game?
The benefit is that you're in like the weird suit. Like, have you ever seen, when you watch like TVs and you watch like Game of Thrones, but they don't have to straight up rub naked shit on each other. You know what I mean? It's like, at least here they get to be all strapped in a nice like suit with little balls on it.
Mm.
But in terms of representation, I do think this is fantastic. So we don't get too political in here in sort of stances and whatnot, but like, I have friends that are trans, so for them to be able to create characters that represent them and their community is massive to them.
Mm.
Yeah, I mean, in order to live within that sort of that nature is a massive positive, and I think that's fantastic. So it's one of those things like, I don't understand why some people have had an issue with this, because if you don't want to create a fluid character, then don't.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't change how you play the game. It just makes it those that play it can connect a bit more to it. They can have a bit more agency, a bit more, connection to the material.
Yeah.
Like, because right now, Mac, you and I are we are the majority. We are, white, middle class, heterosexual men. Like, we tick fucking all the boxes. So we have been represented in games forever. Absolutely forever. So it's nice to know that at least the others get to have a go.
Yeah, look, I'm glad they've made the customization as wide and as open as they have. I think it stays, like I said before, it stays true to its source material, and it gives everyone the chance to create the character that they want to play as. And like you said, it gives them agency and a bit more connection to it.
Yeah. Now, saying that though, like, everything I've just said has been quite nice and poignant and respectful. I'm going to fuck with that slider so hard when that game comes out. I'm going to give my guy like the smallest peen and the biggest set of balls you've ever seen in your entire life. I'm going to be like, far left for the peen, far right for the balls. It's going to be a sight for sore eyes.
Mm.
Are you going to dick about, pun intended, in the that customization?
Yeah, I mean, everyone does. Like, I remember when I played Conan for the first time. I had a wang slider. You're going up and down on that slider for a while.
Yeah, and like, because from last I heard, that everyone that was playing Conan was just big dicks everywhere. Everyone just slid that shit as far right as they could.
Yeah.
The benefit of this as well, it's, it is equal. Like, both genders, or both sexes, sorry, are getting those organs, so they can slide them however you want. As I discussed, I'm in the start of in the pre-show, like, I'm gonna go to the buttocks to be negligible, no butt, it's like fucking straight line, just bam,
just flat
balls coming out the front. That's what I want. But no, there's a lot here, and I do think this is something I heard somewhere recently as well. There was a suggestion that, like, hey, maybe you should go and pick up your copy of Cyberpunk 2077 on release. Just saying. Because someone at some point is probably going to bitch and whinge about the dick slider, and then they're like, oh, very similar like Manhunt back in the day, or GTA 3. They're like, we're going to have to change the rating. And the next thing you know, Cyberpunk's off shelves, and there's suddenly a dickless version,
a dickless version.
So maybe that's the right idea. Maybe you need to go pick up Cyberpunk 27 so you can get the unhindered dick version.
Yeah.
What if I can get like a cyber penis though? Like, because we're making the assumption here that it's like a fleshy peen. Can we make a robo-peen?
I don't know. We'll have to wait and see, I guess.
Can I give myself some tuchus, but like cybernetic tuchus that I can twerk at the press of a button?
You want some magnetic junk in your trunk?
Like, it's all hydraulics and shit. That's what I want.
You got hydraulic buttocks that you can flex at different times.
Yeah, because isn't that like that thing with like hip hop?
That's the dream.
Like with hip hop and hip hop film clips about making the butt cheeks all smack together. When you've got like hard hydraulics, like junk.
You're just giving yourself an applause after every gunfight with your ass cheeks.
Junk. That's my plan. That is my plan. Hard steel butts. Anyway, let us know what you think of having super customizable genitals and in Cyberpunk. It's an interesting time to be, I think.
Well, yeah, it's a great time to be alive.
Do you think this level of creative freedom will roll out?
Turn out horribly? Yeah, there will be some.
Dude,
there will be some horrendous photos online of check out my Cyberpunk character.
And it's all dicks, just dicks all day. It's gonna be awesome. But do you think like this level of customization or freedom will roll into other games in the future?
I mean, I hope so. Most of the time, like with most games, especially with this, you'll spend an hour customizing your character for a first-person game, and you're never going to see yourself.
That's true.
So, I mean, a lot of the times, this doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll be interesting to see how it affects other games.
Well, because the same can be said for like Overwatch. You never see yourself; you're in first person. But by God, people put a lot of effort into their skins.
Buying skin. Yeah, I'm the same.
Yeah,
I want to look pretty in that loading screen.
That's true. But let us know what your thoughts on Cyberpunk and its cyber penis. In the comments below.
I'm still calling it Cyberjunk from now on.
Cyberjunk, yeah.
Cyberjunk.
Get excited.
2077.
Let's enter the section we call Inform. No, we've done that part. Look, Cyberpunk, yonks away, dude. Yonks away. Let's have a chat about what games that are coming out this week in a section we call Coming to the Players. Max, bring it home.
Oh, there's not much. So new PlayStation games for the week of May 12th, 2020. Again, this comes from the US PlayStation blog, so some dates may change for us Aussies. Some may not come out at all. We have Emma, Lost in Memories, PS4, PS Vita, digital, out May 11th. Fault, Milestone 1, PS4 digital, out May 15th. Huntdown, PS4 digital. Ion Fury, PS4 digital, May 14th. Island Saver, PS4 digital, out May 13th. Pixel Ripped 1995 PSVR digital. Pong Quest PS4 digital May 15th. Potata Fairy Flower PS4 digital, out May 13th. Tactical Champs PS4 digital, out May 15th. Thy Sword PS4 PS Vita digital cross-buy. And that is all for this week.
Absolutely nothing of note. Not a thing.
Absolutely. Pick up none of these for your mum for Mother's Day.
No. Your mum ain't getting shit for games, all right? She ain't getting nothing.
Yeah.
Man, it's real tough. No new games and stuff.
It's a struggle at the moment. I mean, you know, we keep getting news of what's coming out, but there's nothing for a while, unfortunately. Big ones are all a month away.
That's very true. Let's bring it home, Max.
So this PlayStation conversation happens every Monday morning at 8 a.m. on podcast services, including Spotify, and 9 a.m. on those YouTubes. If you'd like to join us in our future conversations, please head on over to our Facebook, our Discord, Twitter, Instagram. All the links are in the description below.
If you want to join the conversation as it happens, head over to twitch.tv/thepopculturist, where you can watch us record this show live. So we can jump in the chat just like Dash did, just like Cass did, just like old Tight Bits did, and Dadbot, and a bunch of other beautiful, beautiful people that came in and partied with us today. One thing we'd like you to do is to share the conversation, tell your friends, tell your family about this little PlayStation pod. Be sure to go to your podcast services, give it 5-star rating, give it a written review, all that sort of garbage. If you're on the YouTubes, be sure to give it a like and subscribe and ring the bell and all that garbage, if that's something that you want to do. We know it's difficult times right now, but you can support us financially at patreon.com/thepopculturist, as well as our merchandise shop, popculturist.com/shop, where you can buy shirts and other sort of shit with our logos on it. That does bring us to the end of the show, Max. Thank you for joining me once again.
No problem.
It's awesome times talking PlayStation. But until next week, I'm Ryan Betson.
I'm Max Cooper.
And that was for the players. For the players, the Pop Culturist PlayStation podcast is fan-supported at patreon.com/thepopculturist. And we'd like to thank our Patreon producers and our Patreon founders for their kindness, their support, and their generosity. Our Patreon founders: Alpha Ferret, Craig O'Flaherty, David Chataway, Jesse Stevenson, and Jacob Garner. And our Patreon producers: AJ Abatomi, Damien Holdies, Carl Dunn, Lee Wintershoven, Nathan Massetti, Paul James, Pure Mongrel, and Sean Levitt.